Now, I've been talking a lot about Gina Carano and my thoughts about her being fired and me being upset about and all that kind of stuff. But I also touched on the fact that there is an interesting consequence to this whole controversy and what's happened. And that is that her action figures apparently are not being produced anymore. So there apparently is going to be a limited quantity of Cara Dune action figures out there. And this could be the next big hot thing. I did this Google search just right before the show, and I just put Cara Dune action figure in the search. Okay, that's all I put in there. Nothing else, more specific than that. Just Cara Dune action figure. And what's funny is you get stuff that's not Cara Dune action figures when you do this. But one of the big things that people are speculating about is whether the retro collection's even going to come out, at least in its entirety, because the retro collection does include Cara Dune. It includes many other characters as well. And I just want to put out there that these characters, if you're able to get them, okay, because right now you can only pre-order them, but if you're able to get them, you're basically going to be paying about $12 a piece because it's $84 basically for a set of 7. You get the entire collection. And as far as I can tell, getting the Gina Carano figure by itself, I don't know if those pre-orders are just done or what, or that they took it away, but I can't find just that figure. Obviously, there are some other variations or some other versions of Cara Dune that are out there. A big one that people are into is the retro collection. And the retro collection is the one that has the card, basically the card backs that look more in that classic Kenner style, right? Even though these figures never came out during that time period. If you look at this, and granted, that this doesn't mean that they got this, but there's somebody right now trying to unload a Cara Dune, basically vintage figure. That's I think what they call them, the vintage collection, for $495. $495 are asking for that figure, and I remember seeing that figure, at Target. Okay. And then they've also got the Black Series. There's one here listing for $200. I actually saw the Black Series ones a lot. I've never been interested in that. The 6-inch scale, for one thing, is not something that I've ever been really into. You know what I mean? But not to say that I don't have any. I think I do have a few 6-inch scale figures, but nothing Star Wars. For me, Star Wars has always been the 3 3/4, right? For so many of us, that's what Star Wars is, right? It's that size. But it's just interesting to see some of these prices, and that already there clearly is something going on with these Cara Dune figures, and it's because of the massive speculation about ultimately how many of these figures are out there. And basically, Hasbro has said they're not going to be making any more. They're not. There is a finite quantity of these figures, and once they're gone, they're gone. They're going to be in collectors' hands or whatnot. Now, I went out and I was at Target, and I was just grocery shopping at Target. And I always go and check out the toy section. They have a small Star Wars section. I always just go and check it out just to take a look. And I found this, and I thought this was interesting. And I wanted to show it to everybody because I'm just like, you never know, right? You just never know. So this is an interesting collection of figures. Obviously, these are like geared towards like smaller children. These are the Star Wars Mission Fleet figures. I actually have looked at these figures before and thought they're kind of cute and kind of fun. You can see that they do sort of like very cartoony versions of all the characters and the artwork. But what's in there? What's in there, right?
Right. It's Cara Dune. Yep.
It's Cara Dune. It's Cara Dune. I found this in the wild, and that's why I'm bringing this up, because I found this in the wild. I just went to Target. There was a stack of them. Okay. And it's $20 for the full set. Okay. That means that you're basically like, at about what, $4 a figure, because there's 5 figures, as opposed to the $12 for the retro collection, which we don't know if the retro collection is going to come out. I'm just going to throw that out there. I made an order on Entertainment Earth. My order has not been fulfilled. It's a pre-order. They have not charged my card. So nobody knows if that retro stuff is actually going to come out and in what quantity. These are out. These are out there. These are still available in the wild. It's $20 for the entire set. I think even if you just think of it as a nice display piece because you want to show some love for Cara Dune or for Gina Carano, or you just a collector and you want a complete set, hey, it's there, it's available, and it's still there in the wild. You don't have to go online. You might actually be able to find it at your local Target or your local Walmart.
Well, and that's kind of the thing with a lot of this stuff. If you're out and about, even on the trading card side, I mean, you could go to a swap meet, you could go to, in any of these kind of, because there are parts of the country where they're still doing things, right?
Right.
I know it sounds crazy, but there are. So when you're
comic book stores, you know what I mean? So
yeah, when you're out and about, keep an eye out for them. Like for example, like this box of Youngblood cards I showed earlier. I mean, someone might be sitting on something that they just soon get rid of. You might be able to make them an offer and get it on the cheap. You know what I mean? And maybe you might be able to do something with it down the road. That's kind of the deal with a lot of this stuff, because you can actually get, I think, even things like action figures and stuff graded. I think there's places that do that. So yeah, why not? I mean, I don't, and it's interesting too, the whole thing with the Cara Dune, because she was that was a very popular character. So this whole about face, has happened awfully quickly. And there were some things that are out there that you can find, that you can purchase if you want to hold on to them, or you want to see if you can flip them. That's totally something you can do.
I think at this point you could find a lot of those figures. You could still find them in the wild. I mean, I think all those numbers are diminishing. And again, I don't know if the Mission Fleet stuff will ever be valuable, because I don't know if they really consider that like a real likeness of her. Like if they recast Cara Dune, I don't know if they'll just go ahead and just make the same figure because it's the cartoony version of her. I don't know. I really don't know. I haven't got into it enough to know one way or the other. But I do think it's interesting. I do think it's neat. And again, when you can find it when it's still in the wild and you can still buy it at retail, when people are going to speculate on this stuff, you never know. Maybe you can make a few bucks. But at the very least, like I said, you have something for your collection, because now you realize I can't have a complete collection because they're not making this figure anymore and everybody's buying them all up. You know what I mean? So that's at least one way that you could have a complete collection.
Right. And that's kind of again, for me, that's the upside on the cards too. Like I mentioned last week, if you don't have a lot of room, for a several thousand piece comic collection, a several thousand piece card collection actually takes up a lot less room. So
yeah, and speaking of taking up a lot less room, I mean, these are small figures, you know what I mean? And they're all together in a pack. So
right.
I think these are very small figures. So
yeah.
Hey, there's that.
Yeah,
space.
very cool.
Sometimes space is a premium. I know it is for me. I've talked about it very often that I've got all sorts of collectibles and boxes, and it kills me because I'm like, what's the point? You know what I mean? Should I just sell this stuff or what? Because if I can't display it, what's the point?
Right. That's true. And that'll be interesting too for me once I get these things actually back graded, because they will take a lot more room at that point. So it'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out. Interesting. Very cool.